essential oils and children. So are all essential oils really and actually safe for children and kids? So unfortunately, I see a lot of unsafe advice, unsafe recipes, all sorts of stuff shared all over social media and Instagram. And as an aromatherapy student myself, I find it really concerning because people don't know if they see their friends doing it, oh, they must be able to do it as well. So in my courses, I learn a lot about like safety, essential oil safety with children and whatnot. And I learn a lot of theory, but I've never talked to somebody face to face, which I'm about to do, and have them share their story about a mishap with essential oils and their child. So today I'm going to be bringing on Jasmine, and she'll be sharing her story. So she's an aromatherapy student, but we start somewhere, and there was a point in her life as well as my life where we didn't know much about essential oil safety, and she's going to be coming on and sharing her story to spread awareness about essential oil safety and children.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so happy you said yes, and I'm so grateful just by your presence and that you're willing to share this. I know not everyone's comfortable sharing this, and I think it's something that is important that people know. So I'm going to let you just kind of introduce yourself briefly so people know who you are.
Okay, I'm an aromatherapy student. I've been in school since last year. It's taking me a little bit longer because I have 4 kiddos, but it's okay. I'm almost done. I'm actually on my research paper and my I'm totally spacing because of mom brain. My clients, I'm doing my
Case studies.
Case studies, thank you. I'm like, why can't I think of that name? Oh my gosh, miss my case studies. So I'm doing that, and I have probably like 15 case studies that I'm doing. So I'm super busy. But I'm really excited. So hello,
That's
everybody.
Cool. I totally get that. I'll be submitting 15 case studies really soon, so like I know what that looks like.
Yeah, it's intense. And you don't think that it's going to be an intense thing, and then you realize like, oh, okay, everyone has like the same symptoms, which makes it even more difficult sometimes because you're like, I need different things to do.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us your story. I'm really curious to hear it.
So I had been using essential oils since 2013, but nothing like specific. And then I got into an essential oil brand, and I had like my upline, and they weren't really helpful with a lot of things. They told me that I could just basically use like whatever oils whenever I wanted. And every time I got my oils, I would let my little ones smell them. And at the time I had my 6-year-old who he was 1.5. And I had gotten peppermint, and I took it out, I opened it up, and I let him smell it. And I had no idea like anything because nobody told me any of the safety. I didn't research any of it because everyone was like, oh, it's so pure, it's safe, you can use it around your kids, diffuse it, you know? And I was like, okay, cool. So I did that, and I let him smell it. And when I let him smell it, he went into respiratory distress. And it was extremely terrifying. He was wheezing, he was gasping for air, he couldn't breathe. I called this company and asked them like, what do I do? And they're like, okay, well, I'm sorry, we can't help you in any of that sense. You need to reach out to your primary care doctor. Like, if you have any concerns about essential oils, reach out to your doctor. And I'm like, my doctor's not gonna know. So I call my doctor, and they're like, we don't know. Like, this was like 4.5 years ago. And they're like, we don't know what to tell you. Call poison control. And I was like, are you serious? So I called poison control, and they're like, I'm sorry. The only thing I can think of is like, give him some fresh air, monitor him. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, do I need to take him in? And we monitored him, and he was still having a hard time. He was screaming bloody murder, and he was just continuously like gasping for air, and I like blow in his face because he wasn't breathing. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, I was so scared, and it was like so traumatizing for everybody, you know. And to this day, I don't use peppermint. Like, I have all my unsafe kid oils in a specific spot, and I just don't use them. I'm terrified that that's going to happen again. My kid, he's never had any other reactions with essential oils since then. But that peppermint, it really terrified me. And at that moment, I was like, hey, okay, not all oils have, like, they're not all safe, right? So I did like a bunch of research and I dug into it more, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a list of oils that you're not supposed to be using. There's a list of oils you're not supposed to be using when you're pregnant. And I was doing that. I wonder if like X, Y, and Z is in the result of X, Y, and Z, you know what I mean? And so it was super scary and no one could help me. And all I could do is like, I at first used water, okay, to rub it off of his face. That was worse because then it like not burned his skin, but like his skin was bright red and he screamed bloody murder. And I was like, okay, well, this is not what's supposed to happen, but no one taught me and there was no education behind any of it. And so I used coconut oil because I was like, okay, well, let's use an oil base. Like, I don't know, you know, I was not that deep into essential oils at the time. And so I used coconut oil and I like rubbed it, and then I like just kept cleaning out his nostrils with coconut oil in hopes that that was going to help. And it was for the entire day that he was having a really hard time breathing. And from that moment on, I was like, okay, I'm totally going to do my research. I will never use an oil around or on my kids unless I absolutely know that it's 100% safe. So that's my scary story. But that kind of led me into what I'm doing now and how long I've been using oils. And so, yeah.
Yeah, when I hear your story, I'm like, holy crap. Like,
Yeah.
I've heard of stories like that. Like, you know, in theory, this is what's happened in other cases, but just meeting someone that it's happened to. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Because it's like, there's people who need to hear that. There's people who wouldn't, you know what I mean? That would have made the same mistake if they haven't seen this story when I replay it.
Oh, I agree. And I've had people tell me that I'm like lying or like naysayers, you know, or like, they're like, that's not true. I use it around my kid all the time, you know? And I'm like, well, unfortunately, like everybody's different. So it's going to react differently to everybody. So I just try to like, I'm like, okay, well, that was my experience. So.
Yeah. And I think that's also what is dangerous, because people are like, oh, I do that with my kids, it'll be fine with your kids. But it's like, if we look at peppermint and because of the menthol and eucalyptus that are cineal rich to have 1,8 cineal, like it can create like slow breathing, respiratory distress, if I can say that right, neurological problems in some children. And it's like by you saying, oh, well, it's good with my kids, it can be good with your kids. What risk are you putting the other kids at?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So for finishing words, what kind of advice would you give to someone who has kids and uses essential oils on them?
My number one advice is do your research. Reach out to accredited people, aromatherapists. I know a lot of us, like aromatherapy students, will tell people like little tips or like advice or help for free. Like my thing is I'm all about educating. So if you have a question, email me, message me, text me, call me if you have to, you know, like, but reach out and do your research, because a lot of businesses just want your money and they don't really truly have the support to back any of it up. So,
yeah. And I was part of one of those companies, and they're really like, be careful of the information outside of the company, where in reality, like the information outside the company from aromatherapists is a lot safer than what's going inside of that community, where they're like, don't look elsewhere, where you actually should be getting yourself educated, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. I was too.
Yeah.
So.
And you said you tried to use water to get it off, which is like rookie mistake. We've all done it, right?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
What else would you said to if someone has that happen to them?
I would definitely say don't ever use water to take off essential oils. If you're having an allergic reaction, you need to use a carrier oil. So the best bet, honestly, is going to be coconut, unless you're allergic to coconut, and then find something like, you can even use like olive oil if you need to, but a coconut oil, olive oil, shea butter, anything that's going to cut that to get it off, that's how you're going to want to do it. Don't use water. It will like cause adverse reactions, unfortunately, for most. So yeah,
it kind of like penetrates deeper.
Right, total rookie mistake. And I didn't know, you know, like nobody told me, and I was just going with the flow. I didn't question anything at that point, you know, and so I was just like, okay, it's fine, I'll just keep going along, because Pinterest said to do it, my upline said to do it. You know, like it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And like I know sister, and I think he says like soap and water, but for me, I like dilute it with a carrier oil, like any carrier oil, and then wipe it off after. And of course, if you get in your eye, just like a side note, if you get in your eyes, don't use water. It pushes it deeper in your eye cavity.
Nope. Yep.
You want to use like if you can get like a napkin or a paper towel with a little bit of essential, like not essential oil, sorry, not essential oil, paper towel with like a carrier oil. And if it's
Hmm.
like in the corner, it'll kind of like suck it up or like dilute it well, and then you
Yeah.
can rinse.
My 3-year-old ended up getting, I make our hand soap and I put essential oils in it to use. And she was washing her face and she got the soap in her eye with the blend. And I just put a ton of coconut oil in her eye. And then I just kept rubbing it out, wiping it, and then adding more and wiping it. And then eventually it soothed it. And I had to apply it probably like 5 times, but yeah, definitely not water.
Yeah, I get it. I've definitely rinsed my eye with like coconut oil. I'm like,
Yeah,
ah.
exactly.
But I think to keep this video short so people watch
Yeah.
it, I think I'll end it here. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me. Bye.